Hi there at home. Thank you for choosing Musa Church as your preferred church or place of worship this morning. In the past couple of weeks, we have been going through a series titled Pieces, focusing on trauma and home and relationships in church and different spaces. And while that has been great, we just felt that we need to get someone in with greater insight and wisdom on the topic. And today, this morning, we have Keitumetse Tsematse.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I said it right. Yeah, I butcher her surname, so I said it right. Keitumetse, you are a clinical psychologist.
Yes.
You studied like 100 years.
Not 100, but close enough.
Yeah, because carrying
It feels like
heavy
forever.
books.
It feels like 100.
I can imagine.
But it's not. Just for control, it's not 100 years.
It's not 100. If you want to be a psychologist, it's not 100 years. It's just 80 years.
It just feels like.
Yeah. So you know what? We believe here in Musa Church that we have different gifts in the church, and it's not only the pastor who can speak into people's lives. That's why God gave some to be doctors, lawyers, psychologists, and stuff like that, so that we can edify the body. And that's why we brought you here, just to help us in this conversation, just to say, hey, how do we deal with these things from a professional point of view? How do we deal with these things, right? So, Keitu, can I call you Keitu? Is that okay? Yeah, she's actually my friend, so I'm just gonna call her Keitu. So Keitu, trauma. What is trauma?
Yes. So before we get there, hello everybody.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for inviting me over to Musa.
Yeah.
To speak some insight and some knowledge that I have on this topic of trauma. So if you want to explain trauma, it's basically a response to an experience that has probably been overwhelming for someone.
Okay.
So they're unable to cope with this experience that is before them.
Okay.
So trauma, like as it is a response, often people are unable to cope with it because it's too much. So it's too much for their feelings or emotions, it's too much for their mind, it's too much for the environment. So what happens is that people find themselves feeling helpless, or they find themselves feeling hopeless because of what happened. Often trauma is a sudden, unexpected thing.
Yeah.
So you can imagine if something hasn't been planned, it's quite a shock to the system. It happens and you're thinking, what just happened? I've just been robbed, or somebody just pointed a gun to me. Or sometimes it can be anticipated that this person has kidnapped me for the past 5 hours. You start thinking about what is he going to do to me in the instances of sexual assault. Trauma comes in diverse ways, right? Trauma, what is trauma to me might not be trauma to you. I might be traumatized by just me riding my bicycle and falling and having certain ideas.
Wait. Are you saying me and you can go through a same situation?
The exact
situation, and
situation.
Then I'm traumatized and you are not?
Not necessarily traumatized. You'll be experiencing it differently, and I'll be experiencing it differently. So let's give an example. We are in a car accident, exact same scenario, and then let's say the car turns and whatever, and then you will start not being able to sleep. That's part of the things that happens to you. You're not able to sleep. You're always fearful. That's the part of emotions. You're always thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me next? You always look. You are hyper vigilant. You become hypersensitive to things. Whether it is just your planning of things, whether it is the execution of things, whether it is your concentration. So basically, trauma hinders your functioning in certain ways. So it hinders your mind, it hinders your feelings, it hinders the way you have been functioning prior to the trauma.
Okay. Now, how can one tell that they have unresolved trauma?
Yeah. So like the examples, I've kind of touched on it a little bit. You can tell that you have experienced trauma or have unresolved trauma through different ways. So your everyday functioning changes. So one of the main things that you'll definitely know, you start losing your appetite, for example. Other instances, people might start having appetite that is not normal, right? So that will definitely change, whether it changes for the minus or the plus, whether it increases or decreases. One thing, your mood will also change, because you often be fearful, you often be scared, you often be hyper vigilant, you're always anticipating, you hear a little bit of a knock next door, and then you start freaking out. You know, you start always checking, did I lock the door? Did I lock my car? When I get to the robots, is there anybody? You know, hyper vigilant.
Because you've experienced a similar experience.
Yes. Okay. So it also, we spoke about the mind. So your attention, your focus is different. So now you're no longer able to go to work and finish a task because you're not able to concentrate or you're not able to give attention. These can be things even at home. Maybe you're watching TV at home as a family and somebody speaks to you about what's happening there, only to realize you were not attending because your mind is not there. You know? So those are the everyday things that you can notice that I have unresolved trauma. Other things can come through dreams. People who often have experienced traumas, they relive that experience through dreams. Others relive the experience through flashbacks. We call it flashbacks. Or sometimes you might be triggered by something. That I was at the robot the previous time, I was hurt. So every time you approach a robot, traffic light in the States, you get this thing of, ooh, what's going to happen? Is that thing going to happen again? Or sometimes you actually have it happening to you and you cannot continue driving. So some people get stuck there because it's as if it's happening again, although it's not happening. So it's happening in your mind, it's replaying itself in the mind, whereas the actual environment, it's not happening. So those are the everyday things. Sorry for cutting you.
No, don't worry. I preach every Sunday, so I'll talk next week. This week is for you. So look, there's people that are watching at home and someone's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Me, I don't have trauma. I've never experienced. No, I'm cool. Is it possible to not be aware of your unresolved trauma?
It's definitely possible to not be aware of your unresolved trauma. And the reason for that, we call it repression. So there's a concept of repression. It's basically suppressing. I'm thinking of two things now. Suppressing the fact that you have experienced that, or if you acknowledge that you have experienced this thing, you suppress the things that come with it. So you suppress the feelings that come with it. You suppress or avoid sometimes whatever that is associated with that. So in the instance of the car accident, for example, we might have somebody who now maybe does not drive. That's more avoidance than suppression. Somebody might be like, I'm brave, I'm going to do this. No, I'm okay on the road. Why are people calling me the whole time to check if I'm safe or how I'm feeling? You know, so suppression is unconscious. Often happens because people are trying to avoid the impact of the trauma. So I would rather go around this thing than to actually sit with it and realize that I'm fearful, I'm scared, I'm not okay because of what I've experienced.
But Kitu, in most cases, why would someone want to avoid dealing with it? What would be the reason for that?
We spoke about coping, right? So remember, trauma is a response to a threatening experience that you cannot cope with. So because I cannot cope with, I do not have control over this thing that happened. But what I do have control over is the response, my current response. Now, I have control to rather avoid it, or I have control to rather distract myself from it. I have control to do something now than to actually approach it, because it's too overwhelming for me to address it. It's too complex, it's too saddening, it's too frightening. And remember, we spoke about reliving. When you go to that, the mind doesn't always know that actually now you're safe. We are talking about it, yes. It feels to you like you are reliving it, but you are not.
You still feel like you are threatened.
Yes. It's almost like it's still happening now. So often how to help somebody going through this is to say, yes, this happened, but currently you're in a safe space. When you talk about it, you might have the flashbacks. And remember, flashbacks means it's happening right now. You know, it's like reliving that moment, right? It's just
so flashback doesn't see it as, no, I'm thinking of something that happened there. It see it as if it's happening now. So the body, or the way our system works, or our psyche, a feeling is a feeling. So a feeling is happening now. It won't say, no, this feeling was the feeling that you had then. So that's why you would feel as if you are in it now.
that's where the training would come in, the therapy would come in, helping you and say, yes, the intensity of it while you're talking about it feels like it's happening now. However, you're in a safe space. Let's talk about it.
So the reason I suppress it is because I don't want to feel it again.
Yes.
I don't want
who wants to relive a threatening thing? I don't want to relive the moment.
Yeah.
Or as much as I want to address it, I don't know how to.
Yeah.
So let me rather do something that I can do.
You said something about, so a trauma is something that often is unexpected. So it means it catches you by surprise and you have no control. So, but when you avoid it, you feel like you're taking back a bit of that control.
Definitely. Because it's something that you can do. It's not an invasion of your space, you know? All of these are often trauma is an invasion of your space. You are being attacked by someone. Whether it's the tsotsi by the traffic light, whether it is somebody who's sexually invaded your space. Sometimes, like I say, the intensity of a trauma is not as big to you as it is to me. Just somebody pointing me with a sharp pencil and saying, bring your phone, can be very threatening to you. But I'll be like, so the intensity is also experienced differently. Hence, you can never, just as a side note, you can't ever belittle someone's experience of something, whether emotionally or in their minds. You cannot say, just a pencil,
small thing,
knife, you know, or they had a gun. Your daughters had what? My daughters had a gun, dude. Everybody in the air, so you cannot belittle because the emotional experience of it. The emotions don't say, no, be scared 5%. This is just a pencil, or be scared 100%. This is a gun. There isn't that. A feeling is a feeling.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whew. Wow. Guys, I hope I hope that you're getting helped, because I am. Like my mind is beginning. I feel like, you know, things were scattered in a room. Now they're beginning to you know, I'm starting to find room.
And I'm glad you're starting to find room, Koketso, because it's only with the little information. However, it's important to notice that trauma is messy. You know, right now you might get it a little bit, but it's messy. We always think, oh, we got this and whatnot. And it's never bottled. It's as messy as possible. You might think you have it and clean it for now and think, I've got a hang of this, you know. I've practiced. I'm back to driving again. I'm back to going out. I'm back to this. But then one day you just have this moment where everything is just collapsing. Now you're breaking down or crying hysterically or experiencing this emotion, these flashbacks. Then they are overwhelming. Then we get the people who might flight, freeze, or fight back. You know, all of these responses in trying to cope or repress them. Sometimes they can just come out and take over you because that's how feelings are strong.
Would you say one would have to then be comfortable with embracing the mess that it is, to say, you know what, let me stop trying to have it all figured out and together. Let me embrace that there's mess, you know, and I have to deal with this.
Definitely, I would advise all of us to, I mean, it's not just necessarily about trauma in that context, but embracing the good and the bad of life, because it facilitates the process of being able to say, yes, it's a bad thing that happened. Let me try and cope with what I can. Let me try to learn from an experience. Let me try to learn myself from an experience. I mean, you cannot learn that, oh, okay, now I need to wear a longer dress, you know, because then that's a different kind of learning. But learning about yourself as a way of coping, that I know that my way of coping in this situation was this. Explore, okay, has this happened to me before? If it happens again, what would I do? These are the simpler things, like being attacked. Will I fight the person who's attacking me? How will I deal with it? You know, it's more because of you, because you have control of you, but you don't have control over the situation. You don't have control over the person invading your space. But rather say, let me feel it. Let me cry. Let me just feel safe. Let me lock my door for the sake of my safety. Let me go report it, because maybe it can relieve something. You know, that control that we spoke about, taking back your control. You know, smaller things that you can do to break it down, to allow the mess to that you see to be almost in line, and it doesn't always need to be in line, but managed. If I can say that.
Yeah, got it. Sure. So Kitu, I spoke to a guy some time ago. This guy says to me, he has 2 kids.
Okay.
He's there, man. He's doing everything for them, but he's struggling to connect emotionally with them, and he thinks it might have something to do with the fact that he did not have parents growing up. His parents abandoned him, and I couldn't confirm that. I didn't know. So my question is, do we have childhood experiences that really come to impede our functioning as adults?
Definitely. So often most traumatic experience that we repress, repress?
Yeah.
We repress, they will come out. Anything that we repress always comes out.
Yeah.
Especially emotions.
Yeah.
Emotions, you repress them. It's like just throwing them under the carpet.
Yeah.
And we think right now it's clean, it looks
clean. It looks clean. Yeah.
But it's under the carpet, right? And maybe I might just walk around the hip that's created by this mess that I put under the carpet.
Yeah.
But sometimes it comes out. Sometimes you trip over that thing that you put down under the carpet.
Sure. Yeah.
And when it comes out, we don't know when, we don't know how. So that childhood trauma that you perhaps just put under there might come back to haunt you. So in the circumstance of now being a father, you realize that now only I am allowing myself to process that my parents rejected me.
Yeah.
Now you realize the intensity of being a parent. Now you need to start becoming a parent and you do not know how to.
Yeah.
Now you start realizing actually it's that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to. Sure. And for you, that might be traumatic.
Yeah.
For someone else, that might be, okay, let me learn from someone else.
Yeah.
I know I didn't have my parents necessarily, but I had the auntie, I had the whoever. So maybe I can learn parenting, but it does not take away from the fact that you had that emotion of, I feel rejected, I feel unwanted, I feel this, which might be repeated that, well, my children feel the same.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
So that's how trauma, unresolved, especially childhood traumas, can be interpreted into when you're an adult. Sometimes it's also in relationships. Most relationships, whether it's a romantic relationship with your partner, whether it's families, like you say now, this father, now who's become a father, how to relate with their own child.
Sure.
Sometimes it's with your boss, you know, and you're just like, this person, I did not get them. Sometimes you interpret everything that the boss is doing as rejection because you have your own unresolved rejection.
Wow.
And sometimes it's really about the boss saying, no, you can't take leave today. It has nothing to do with me rejecting you. But maybe we have an event next week, so therefore it's not a good idea for you to take leave. But you will have interpreted with the rejection.
I interpret what is happening today.
Today with the rejection. Because it creates a perception. Everything we experience creates a perception. Our environment creates a perception. So basically glasses. I grew up wearing blue glasses, and therefore I will still wear blue glasses all of my life, unless I realize that actually there are red glasses out there, green, what. And sometimes I need to take the blue glasses off to see life through a different perception. So if I see relationships as that thing I can lose because I am being rejected, I'm going to try to not be rejected or to feel rejected. And if I start feeling rejected, it means I should stay away, or it's too much. So therefore, I will stay away. So can you imagine now him staying away from an active relationship with his children? Because he already thinks, I don't know how to be a dad, or I was rejected, or whatever other traumatic experience he's had from being rejected, because that can be very traumatic to someone.
Absolutely. Kitu, someone is watching at home. They're saying, I've had blue glasses for my whole life, right? What do I do? Because now I'm overwhelmed. I hear you guys are talking about all these things. What can I practically do? I think, like someone would say, you know what, I don't even know if I have blue glasses or not, because I've always been wearing them.
Yes, you wouldn't know.
You know, I don't know, because it's for me, it is what it is. It's all I know.
Yes.
How do I practically, you know, go about finding help and taking off these glasses if I have to take off the glasses?
Yes. So it would start with noticing that there is a problem, because I mean you can't change or do something if you do not think there's a problem, right? So realizing for yourself, or rather reflecting that, you know, in my life my relationships have not been doing well, and in all my relationships, for example, the people give me this kind of feedback. So they tell me that I push them away, I never want to accept them or be genuine with them. Then that would be a common thread, and you would now be more aware that I push people away in relationships. Why do I push people away? If you're able to link it to anything else, that maybe I was betrayed, I was rejected, therefore I'm afraid of being rejected again or feeling rejected again, therefore I'd rather pull away. So you can either choose to do that. Sometimes you're not able to do that because it's a blind spot, like you said. We don't even know that we reject people, right? Or we don't even know that we fear being rejected so much that we stay away. So you can have someone else point it out, or go to therapy and say, you know, I'm realizing that this is what's happening. These are the outcomes, but I don't know what is underlying. The outcomes are that I don't have friends, all my relationships don't work, my boss kicked me out or because now I'm unemployed and this. And the common thread has been you don't embrace whatever working relationship or whatever other relationships. Therefore, please help me. That would be one of the things. But with trauma, it's always back to... So I'm realizing I keep going through relationships. Remember, there's other traumas, like your everyday kind of living, where your functioning is impaired. You spoke about concentration, attention, flashbacks, nightmares, or dreams that are containing this trauma. It's not just nightmares, it's nightmares related to the actual trauma that happened. So those things, you can deal more actively with it through things that can make you feel safe. So if you're on the other side, seeing the person who is experiencing the trauma, what you could do is reassure the person that, you know, I realize you usually don't feel safe since this happened. Just reassure them you're at a safe place. If there's anything I can do to help you, you do that. So you kind of comfort them to the ability, to the most appropriate ability, right? When you realize that this person is not being contained, there are other referrals that you can take the person to. They can go to trauma counseling, they can see a psychologist for that, either a clinical psychologist. They can also see counseling psychologists who can also refer appropriately. The thing about trauma, it takes a while. So in our DSM, one of our books that we use in psychology, we usually give it about 2 weeks or so. That for the symptoms to have gone. So those sleepless nights, those inability to concentrate, what other emotions we spoke about? So the dreams, the being scared, the behavior where you would lock the door, the hypervigilance, all of those things. They're a normal thing that take place after a trauma. So we don't want people going around and thinking, oh, I was robbed yesterday, now I'm like this, that means I have trauma. This. It's absolutely normal. I mean, you have every right to feel afraid after you've been robbed or after you've been invaded. But after 2 weeks, we would like to see how long, if the symptoms are still there, for example, are they persistent? Is it in everything? Are they starting to come once a week? Is it every 2 days now? Because immediately after that, the brain is trying to process this invasion. Remember, it's unplanned, so it's a shock. Now the brain it's trying to say, oh, what just happened? So it's recapping until it makes sense of the situation.
Got it.
So 2 weeks, let's see what the symptoms are doing. 3 weeks, it's still there. Or no, I can say it's I even forgot actually that I was
it's getting better.
I even forgot about that, right? But if it goes on 3 weeks or more, sometimes 2 months, then wait 2 weeks or more, then we start getting worried, right? Then we go to therapy. Then we do more than just containing the person at home. If you think about losing someone, like maybe somebody dies, and you start crying, then I say, oh, you're crying, go to therapy. That would be very inappropriate, because if somebody dies, we need to mourn the loss. Mourning includes crying. Oh my gosh, I miss this person. Is this real? There's shock. There's really, I just spoke to this person, checking your phone, trying to make sense of it. That's what trauma is, trying to make sense of this until you are at that capacity where you're able to deal with it. Your ability to deal with it, you're no longer repressing, because repressing is diverting the attention to something else. Now you're saying, I know I'm afraid to go and drive again since the severe accident, but I'm aware that I need to drive. I can keep safe by this. And realize it and be purposeful about it speak about it. So those are some of the few things that you can help to contain people. So in, for example, a church context, you would, for example, you Koketso, maybe you just help the people through prayer. You know, sometimes people need that comfort, the reassurance we spoke about. Sometimes the word of God can be reassuring for people that you are safe. My brother, you can talk to me. Or my sister, you can holler. Let me know what I can do. You know, I can assist in any other form to help you get to the assistance that you need. If it's professional assistance, you can get there. If it's prayer, you can get there. If it's like just a self-help group, you can get there. Also, information is the most important. If I have information about trauma, then I can be contained. I can know that this is normal, so I can't freak out. It's normal for me to be feeling like this. Maybe let me give myself time. Let me speak about it if I want to, but also respect people who do not want to speak about it, and allow them to speak whenever they're ready, to do that.
Sure. Wow, Kiti, this has been a mouthful, and thank you so much. I feel empowered. But before you leave, I want to ask you something else. We are going through a global pandemic. A lot of people have lost their jobs, their relationships, their businesses, their loved ones. It's been a traumatic experience for a lot of us. And a lot of people will not be able to afford to go to therapy. And church might be the only option they have. So it means we're going to see an influx of people coming to church and looking for help to process the trauma they have experienced. But I'm a pastor. I mean, I don't know much about these things. What few things can the church today, and church leaders and church teams do to kind of prepare for that and make sure that we do the best to aid our people as they return back into church?
The most important thing, I think, is educating. So we arm ourselves with knowledge. So this is knowledge about what trauma is, the impact of trauma, how people are being traumatized right now. I mean, globally, like you say, we are all going through this, and it's an unexpected, all of a sudden, where life had to change, right? So now we need also to guard ourselves from, you're just traumatized, you lost the job. No, it's fine, man, you know. Like we said earlier, what I experience won't be as intense as what you experience.
Even though it's the same
even though it's the exact same event, right? My interpretation of it might be different and intense. So just giving people knowledge, information around it, around normalizing that it's normal for you to be feeling like this at this time. We're all feeling it. Psychologists are feeling it too, you know. Everybody's feeling it. You know, there's this joke that you guys know how to better deal with it, but does not take away from the intensity of the experience and the feeling that we have to this experience, related to the experience. So it's definitely information and arming the people with information. Containing, just assuring and saying, yes, we're experiencing this. Let's not avoid it. Let's see what it is, what it brings, and how better to deal with it. Once again, understanding of what COVID is, information of what COVID is, information on the impact that it's had financially, emotionally, all the other things that we can think of, and dealing with those things specifically. Because if we deal with the general thing, we're going to start feeling so overwhelmed that it's a global thing. But if we say, yes, this global thing has impacted my job environment or this particular place in my life, let me try and almost zoom in onto that, just almost as a structure to take control, because we can't solve everything all at once at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So maybe channeling our energy for, let me deal with what I can now. Then tomorrow I'll deal with this, and tomorrow I'll deal with that. Not in a compartmentalizing way. English. Compartment.
Yes.
Not putting our lives into compartments.
Let's just go with that, yeah.
Because life is messy.
Compartmentalizing.
Yes.
English. English.
Not not putting our lives into compartments. Because we know we are not a job person only. Right? We spoke about life being messy and everywhere. So for us to be able to take control, it's maybe going into, let me do this today because I can cope with this. Remember, it's back to coping. Because I can cope with 5% of this. Tomorrow I'll come back and try and do this. The next month I'll come back and try and deal with this. Do what I can today to contribute to the greater thing. Because I know at the end the idea is to have my business back. But right now, business is different because now we do it on technology instead of the face-to-face things.
Wow. There's 3 things I'm hearing from you.
Yes.
Don't avoid it. Don't avoid the mess. Don't avoid that mess. Ask for help.
Because it will come out.
Yeah. Ask for help and do what you can.
Definitely.
Don't try to do everything. So guys at home, don't avoid the mess. Ask for help and do what you can. Kitu, thank you so much for joining me. This has really been insightful. And I'm so glad that we could have this chat. And guys, I hope that you have found help, that you've been helped. We really want to see you being whole. We want to see you living a life that God has really destined you to live. And that's a life of freedom. That's a life of flourishing. And that's a life of just really making an impact in people's lives. But don't just rush out there and try to make an impact in people's lives. There's things you need to deal with. Ask for help. Embrace the mess. Do guys, do the 5% today, 5% tomorrow, and take it step by step. Kitu, thank you so much again. Thank you. It was great.
Thank you.
All right, bye.